Welcome into another episode of Go Local Wisconsin, where we get an opportunity to talk with different organizations and businesses making an impact in our state, all over our state. And today's guest is a little bit different, and the organization that we're going to talk about, because it's not centered on a specific part of our state, but trying to reach and make an impact everywhere in our entire borders of Wisconsin. And also, it's a nonprofit group, one of my favorites, called Reach a Child, whose mission is helping first responders comfort children in crisis. Right now, I'll welcome in Curt Fuszard, the Executive Director of Reach a Child, and also Officer Kate Mann from the Oshkosh Police Department, one of the champions for the Reach a Child program in Oshkosh. Welcome to both of you, and thanks for being on with me today.
Hey, good morning, Jason. Happy to be here.
Thanks for inviting me to join this today.
Absolutely. Okay, Curt, let's get into the basics here. What is Reach a Child? What is the mission, and what is it all about?
A wonderful couple back in 2007, living right here in Middleton, actually, decided that they would like to provide some children's books to the first responders here in Middleton and in surrounding communities. And so they gathered up some children's books, took them to the first responders, and they said, if by chance you could use these when you engage with children in crisis situations, perhaps they'll be comforted, perhaps they'll feel better. And that's exactly what happened. So at the scene of an accident or a house fire, domestic issue, whatever the case may be, these men and women, the professionals from our first responder community, as they engage with children that were probably having the worst day of their life, together they would choose a book to read, and now all of a sudden the child is comforted. The presence of the first responder, the book to read and focus on, and maybe equally important, the fact that the child is distracted from whatever the bad thing is that resulted in the first responder being on site. So that was their idea, and they executed to the very best of their ability. At one time, I know that they were operating out of their own basement, but slowly the awareness grew and the impact grew, and the presence expanded throughout Dane County. And you fast forward a number of years, specifically 2012, a few of us found out about the organization and decided that we'd like to put some horsepower behind it, if you will. And so we put in place some governance, some policies, procedures, things like that. And then we decided that our mission is to provide these resources, these new children's books, and then the backpacks, and provide them to first responders, not just in Dane County, but across the whole state. And so that's what we really started to do in 2012. And you fast forward to 2021, we have about 240 departments that are using our children's books and backpacks. And Jason, I just want to share with you that the tool that we use is this backpack, and it's called a Reach bag. And within the Reach bag, there will be 15 brand new children's books and a light number of drawstring backpacks. And so I'll just show this to you and to Kate. So here's a drawstring backpack. And so the scenario is the first responder, like Kate, goes to the scene of an incident. Here's the child probably having his or her worst day of his life, her life. Kate engages with the child together in a safe place. She opens up her Reach bag, her backpack. The child chooses a book for them to read together, which they do. And when their time together is done, the child keeps the book as well as the drawstring backpack. And, it just, we think, and Kate has affirmed this so many times, there's a tremendous benefit that goes to the child and to the child's family, which is typically, nearby and equally impacted. But the other element is there's a tremendous benefit to the first responder because they come onto the scene. This child is really struggling, really traumatized. What do you do? And so through the power of the book and the presence of the first responder, the child's emotions go from whoa, whoa, whoa to something much more content. And so it's a powerful tool for the first responder as he or she engages with a child, but it's a powerful resource for the first responder. And so we cannot work hard enough and fast enough to get these out to the communities across Wisconsin.
I know you've spent a lot of effort doing that, Curt, because you said that, the organization started in the Madison area, and then you realized, the good that it was doing, how can we get it throughout the state? What was that process like to get there? Because that just doesn't happen, with a quick wave of a wand. What did it take to make that happen?
Well, I would say there were two primary avenues that we were able to leverage. The first being people like Officer Kate Mann. Once she finds out about it, word is spreading pretty quickly in her community and throughout the county and throughout her network with regard to fellow police officers. And that's been just extremely helpful. Another resource that we leveraged is on our team, whether in a staff capacity or volunteer capacity, we have people who are under the age of 30. There's something magical about under the age of 30. They get this social media thing. And so whereas we would try to gain awareness in Ashland County, Bayfield County, Douglas County, Door County, things like that, it was really hard to do by picking up the phone and trying to introduce ourselves. Thankfully, to the staff and the volunteers, they would leverage the social media platforms that we have and really raise awareness. And that has proven to be probably our most effective communication tool. And as Kate can affirm, once the first responder community becomes aware of what it is that we are providing, and it's always at no cost, they can't get it soon enough, quite frankly. And so I would say that those are the two ways that we kind of pushed across the state, Jason. But I don't mean to suggest in any way that we're done. The map that you're showing would indicate that there are a whole bunch of communities, a whole bunch of first responders that would benefit from our resources. And so we're working hard to fill the gaps in the state. I will also tell you that last week we received a request from folks in the state of Illinois asking if we could go south of the border and help them. And as much as we'd like to, we're just not in a position to do that. We want to work really hard, fill in the gaps as far as the communities in Wisconsin.
Kate, as a police officer, a first responder, how have you seen the Reach a Child program, the bags benefit people that you're trying to assist?
Yeah, so it's been a very valuable tool. It's been wonderful working with Curt. Whenever I ask him, hey, can I use these books for this event, or can I get another 200 books? He's always happy to help. So we have that constant resource coming into us, and it's really important. And we try to use the books in several different ways. So we do use them on calls. One call that I remember being on was a domestic disturbance. And after we had the suspect in custody, we were still talking with the children, trying to build that rapport. And it was really nice having those books available because that was a place to start. So we can show them the books, it distracts them a little bit. And then if they are open to reading the book with us, that's great because it kind of calms them down a little bit. It refocuses their attention and helps us to build that rapport very easily. So it's been very successful on calls. We also unfortunately had a homicide that took place several years ago that some children witnessed. And the next day, the officers that were on that call reached out to me and they said, and because it was right before Christmas time too, they said, we would really like to go back and visit these kids and try to have a positive contact with them. Do you have any resources that you could give us to do that? I said, oh yeah, we have books. I had some stuffed animals. So we were able to put together a nice little care package that officers went and dropped off with the kids. So I think that's an important piece as well. We definitely have our job to do there on scene at a call, but then I think it's important to have that follow-up too with kids so that they don't only have experiences with us on calls during stressful situations, that they do have these positive interactions with us as well.
I mean, what a situation to be in as a child, and like you said, with your ability as an officer to have that connection then as well. So you alleviate the situation a bit for the child, but then also you have a connection point with them, and then they can have dealings with you outside of just a crisis situation. That's pretty critical. That's amazing. So, Curt, I had one other follow up here. Why books?
If you think about what's happening with that child, again, as I mentioned just a bit ago, that book is proving to be a source of comfort, but it's also proving to be a distraction from whatever that might be, whatever is happening. And the alternative is a stuffed animal, which is wonderful, is providing comfort. But if I'm that child and I'm holding on to that stuffed animal, I'm still looking at whatever that bad thing is. So combination of the comfort and the distraction. And then, there's a small but somewhat important piece too regarding literacy and reading. And we heard the story of a child who about 3 years ago engaged with the first responder. It was a terrible day, but when all was said and done, she was feeling better. She had this book that they read together, had it in her drawstring backpack. And to this day, it's in her bedroom on her dresser as a really wonderful reminder of how that bad day became really an okay day. So there is that component too of how important reading is for all of us, but especially young people.
Kate, when you look at your experiences too, from utilizing the reach bags and the books for kids in these situations, how is that assisted officers and first responders also to deal with that crisis situation even a little bit more quickly and easier, because you have something like that you can do to give and occupy and help with the child that's dealing with that situation?
Yeah, it's been really valuable, especially in situations where we need to find another caretaker for the children. It might be an hour or 2 hours that we need to try to distract them from the situation that's taking place and continue to build that rapport with them. And I think in some cases too, it's really healing for officers too. So in that incident with when the kids witnessed that homicide, it really stuck with the officers as well. And so I think it was really nice for them as well as the kids to be able to go back the next day and have that follow-up positive interaction.
The work you're doing is so important, and the fact that you have this partnership to make that situation just a little bit better for our youth is great. Curt, when you think about the organization as it started and the impact it has on kids and for our officers, what other partnerships have you found moving forward that you hope to grow? I mean, I know we're not in every county yet. We're trying to get there. I did see you're in my home county of Kewaunee County, where I grew up, so that's a good sign. But there's other places to get to. How are we going to get there? Is it people like Kate? Is it how else do we get to reach everybody?
Yeah, it's going to be a concerted effort by a bunch of really wonderful people. And I will tell you, Jason, that starting a year ago, we found that it was difficult for us to find financial support for the organization. And that continued through 2020 and to some extent into 2021 as well. And that financial support is very important. But we are okay with the fact that those dollars went elsewhere because, they went to the food pantries and they went to places that provided assistance with regard to homelessness and other really basic, really essential needs. And we will always believe that Reach Child, is important. It's got a place. It has a wonderful mission, but there are things that are more important. So as we move into 2021 and continue on in what looks to be a much better environment for all of us, we anticipate that we'll be able to go back to our network of very generous people and invite them to put us back on the priority listing with regard to financial support. With that, then we can expand our reach, expand our focus. I will tell you right now, there are a number of communities that are waiting for us to bring these backpacks. That includes Rock County Sheriff, Shawano County Sheriff, Iowa County Sheriff, Germantown Police Department, and others. And so we're starting to reemerge, if you will, and financial support helps us to get back on track. But let me share with you, Jason, more specifically what that financial support usually it derives from. Our preferred business model is to go to a community, let them know who we are and what we do, and work with, let's say, local businesses, organizations, even individuals to raise money. And then we use that money to purchase the backpacks and the books, and then take them right back into that community. And we've done this in Monroe, for instance, Monroe, Wisconsin, with the assistance of John Bauman and his team at Colony Brands, helped to raise the money, and then we use the money to provide something like 35 backpacks to the police, fire, and EMS. So money from the community back into the community. That is our preferred methodology. Lee Culver and the Culver Foundation, they have helped us to support the entire first responder community in Sauk County. And so just so many great people, so many great businesses and organizations that help us, in part because they know it's helping their communities. And let me conclude this thought, Jason, with what for us is really the most satisfying experience that we have. And that is, as we go to these communities, the first time that we went to Oshkosh, for instance, we would provide all of these backpacks, and the police officers and the police chief, they would be there and they would welcome us. And then most importantly, they'd open up their vehicles and a backpack was in each one of the squad cars. So we did the same with Oshkosh Fire, Oshkosh EMS. So the backpacks are going right onto the vehicle. So you know that if there's an incident even later that day, and there are children that are involved, those children will be comforted and distracted from whatever that bad thing is. That's really powerful.
I love it, Curt, and hopefully the whole state will be on board here before too long. That would be great to get everybody there. Kate, before we wrap things up with Curt, what can you tell people in terms of your own personal experience, the impact of this organization and what it's done in your area of Wisconsin?
Yeah, it's been wonderful. And so we've been able to incorporate it into a lot of different things that we've done out in the community. So we take them on calls, but then we also incorporate them into like our back to school fair, where we have usually about 1,000 kids that attend. And so this is just another opportunity to talk with kids, provide a book to them to encourage reading. Just so many different avenues we've been able to utilize this. And it's been wonderful. It's been really nice to have as well during this COVID time, because we haven't had as many community outreach events. So, and I really miss going out and talking to people in my community. So I grabbed some books and I started driving around during the summertime. I stopped at the parks, and it was just a great way to initiate a conversation and to get books into kids' hands during the summertime. So it's been a wonderful resource, and I absolutely love this partnership.
Thank you for that, Kate.
Yeah.
Curt, how can people help?
Yeah, and before I go there, Jason,
Sure.
I just want to kind of acknowledge that Kate and her team don't have the ability to put forward a budget request for hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars for these resources. I've yet to find a first responder department that had the ability to do that. I do know that the sheriff in Barron County, a wonderful gentleman by the name of Chris Fitzgerald, he funded this out of his own money, his personal funds, just because he thought it was so important. Well, once he found out about us, we've been shipping up books to Sheriff Fitzgerald, but he thought it was so important that he funded it himself. So the the support that we need is twofold, Jason. Number one, it's awareness and it's engagement. So engaging with us either by, let's say, going to your first responder community, letting them know about us, or if you are a first responder, come to us and let us know that you've got X number of vehicles and you would really appreciate these resources, and we will make it happen. We will find a way to make it happen. Again, if you, I'll just share the story here locally. There's an organization that was formed in the last year. It's called Our Monthly Resolution. And every month they focus on the needs of a specific charity. And for the month of February this year, last month, they focused on Reach a Child. And so dozens and dozens of people are out there in the community, and they're talking to their first responders, and they're making contributions, and they're going to our website where they could find the opportunity to purchase a puzzle. That's our most recent fundraiser now. It's a 300-piece puzzle featuring the Middleton Fire Department and representatives from the Middleton Fire Department. It's available through our website, and the cost is $15. That's a great way for us to get some dollars to fund our mission. So in addition to that, of course, you have the ability to go to the direct donate part of our website and make a donation. We appreciate it. So, the awareness piece is so important. I just can't understate how valuable it is when people start talking within their community about providing these resources to the first responders. And once that happens, good things come. And again, as soon as there's an expression of interest from a community, we will work with them and we will deliver the backpacks for every single vehicle in the combined first responder fleet. So police, fire, EMS, sheriff, if that's appropriate.
I think that's such an important message, Curt, that it takes that awareness piece to get there, and people can recognize then at that point how important it is, and they'll want to get behind it in every community. So I do appreciate that message as well. So people can also engage with you. I see you guys put things out on social media. You're active on Facebook and some other socials. So that's another way to engage with the organization, or at least just make initial contact, and maybe keep up with what you guys are up to, right? So people can find out the most current and ways that they can assist and be involved.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, that sounds good. So again, it's at reachachild.org. I pulled the website up a few times for you there. Really important. We're talking with Curt Fuszard, the executive director there, and also Officer Kate Mann from the Oshkosh Police Department. Thank you both so much for your time. Thanks for joining us here on Go Local Wisconsin, and thanks for all you do in our community to make it a better place. We really appreciate that.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Reach a Child, another great organization right here in Wisconsin. Keep looking in your communities for the incredible local organizations. Go local, be local, buy local, stay local. And we'll catch you again on the next episode of Go Local Wisconsin.